gums at each other any chance they get. The fight clock is brought to you by Modelo.
It's time
for you to sit back, relax, and listen to a complete and fucking utter armchair expert give his completely and utterly useless opinions on the one hell of an amazing sport that is MMA.
G'day guys, we have somehow made it to the end of the year. As we know, we did the last podcast on UFC 296, which was of course the last pay-per-view of 2023. How crazy is that, ladies and gentlemen? It was a big year. It was an action-packed year. I'm actually looking at a post the UFC made covering all the events. It, of course, started off UFC 283 in Rio. Glover Teixeira versus Jamal Hill. It was Glover's retirement fight. He got beaten badly. That was sad, man. I remember that. It was definitely a bittersweet ending, though. Come November, well, I guess I'll talk about that in a minute. February, we of course had UFC 284 coming back to the land down under for the first time in 4 years in Perth, Australia. Islam Makhachev versus Alexander the Great Volkanovski won at 155. What a crazy fight that was. I could still remember the fight that set that up in Abu Dhabi, where Khabib got in the cage, and yeah, that was just a crazy time. I actually wanted to go over to Perth, but monetary, I just didn't have the finances. It was definitely an awesome card, though. Of course, Logan Paul and KSI were there to announce the Prime sponsorship of the UFC, which has continued to this day. It was definitely an awesome event. Looked like it was an awesome atmosphere. Would have probably been good to be there, honestly, but just didn't work out, of course. But like I always say, when the next Melbourne one comes, we'll definitely be there. That was a crazy event. Me and my mates watched it at home. We brought the pay-per-view. I still got videos of my mate walking around with his Australian flag, and we sung when Jack Della Maddalena walked out to TNT, and when Volk came out to land down under in front of his hometown, or not his hometown, but in front of his home crowd. That was definitely special. Didn't get it done. It was a close fight, of course. That was one I was looking forward to, and it definitely did not disappoint in its own way. UFC 285, Las Vegas, Nevada. Jones versus Gane. First time Jones had fought in like 4 years. Jones, of course, submitted Gane within 2 minutes, I think. I watched that at the pub. Definitely a special one, that one. First Jones fight I'd watched live in a while. Drugs or not, he's a special performer, and was definitely a great experience to watch him live. Later on in March, we had UFC 286 in London, England. I do remember that because me and my mate brought the pay-per-view, had to stay up for it. Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman 3. And it, of course, ended exactly how the second one ended. Leon managed to do it in front of his hometown. That was definitely a special one indeed. We're talking about... we got some fight nights. UFC 287, Miami, Florida, Pereira versus Adesanya 2, where Izzy got the belt back. Of course, the year prior, he'd lost it at MSG to Pereira, and they had the rematch. And then UFC 288, New Jersey, Sterling versus Cejudo. I remember being hyped for that. Didn't quite go our way, or my way. I was sort of hoping Triple C would win, but he didn't. Some more fight night events. UFC 289, Vancouver, Canada, Nunes versus Saldana. I remember watching that at a pub in Sunbury. It was Nunes' retirement fight. She won, retained the belts, went out on her terms. What a queen, man. What a legendary career. And I'm glad I got to see her fight live. Yeah. Then we had UFC 290 in Vegas in July. That was in June, sorry, UFC 289. Then UFC 290 in July in Vegas. Volk versus Rodriguez. I remember watching that live. I got the poster for it. Volk retained his belt and set up the fight with Superior there. UFC 291, Salt Lake City, Poirier versus Gaethje. Gaethje knocked out Poirier in July. Brought that at home too, I think, as well, from memory. Yeah, that was a good one. Yes, 292 in Boston. Sterling versus O'Malley. That was when Aljo lost the belt. I still remember that. Watched that at, I think it was the Taylor's Lakes Hotel. That was a good one indeed. Yes, we got some... I will mention this fight night. UFC Singapore, Holloway versus the Korean Zombie. Korean Zombie's retirement fight. What a legend, man. Yeah, absolutely. UFC 293 in September. Oh, that was in August, sorry. UFC 293 UFC 292 and that fight night were in August, and then in September, UFC 293 back in the land down under in Sydney. Izzy versus Strickland, that of course ended disappointingly, as we've covered. Both Bam Bam and Izzy lost, and Bam Bam's coming back at I think February, so that'll be good to see. Hopefully he can have some redemption. And Izzy got outclassed by Strickland and lost his belt just after getting it back, which of course was a shame. But yeah, Izzy's on a long break now. There's some talk that he might be on UFC 300, which of course is next year, next April, as we've very much so covered on this podcast. Who knows what will happen with him. Yes, UFC 294, Abu Dhabi, Volk versus Makhachev 2, and Volk lost in the first round. That was a sad one. In October. UFC 295, New York City, Yuri versus Alex, was of course supposed to be Jones versus Miocic, but Jones got injured and will be out for 8 months, so that got made the main event. Tom Aspinall won the interim belt in the co-main, and there's all sorts of talk on what will happen with that now. But Alex did win back his mentor Glover's light heavyweight strap to become a 2-division champion, and that was a very wholesome moment, which of course leads us to where we just ended off earlier this month in December. UFC 296, back in the home of the UFC, Las Vegas, Nevada, Leon Edwards versus Colby Covington, and we may as well cover that. Colby got beat, made every excuse under the sun, and even rubbished Donald Trump, which was surprising. Got outclassed for 5 rounds. Actually managed to watch Cody Garbrandt's fight, and God, there was, I forget the fight, but there was a nasty knockout. Guy hit him flush on the jaw, and the other dude went into convulsions. Man, that was a bad one. Yeah, man. Sorry, guys, you'll have to forgive me. I'm not in the greatest headspace at the moment. I'll explain later why. But I might do a more thorough breakdown of UFC 296, the card that ended this year, on another podcast, or on next month's, or the first podcast of next year. maybe when I can get the names. I'm just not looking up anything right now. But yeah, guys. Anyway, that was basically all this year's events, what I just read out. What a year it's been. We didn't quite get the returns that we'd hoped for. You know, Connor didn't come back, etc. But Dana did say they're in talks, and hopefully it happens for UFC 300. Who knows? But yeah, nonetheless, it was definitely an entertaining year for fight fans. Feels like it went like that, honestly. Yeah, man. It was definitely an entertaining one nonetheless. And of course, next year we've got a couple of months worth of entertaining fights. And, you know, I'm looking forward to those too. But yeah, man, it definitely went like it was nothing. Yeah. Enjoyed every minute of it though. There was a lot of change. Things move fast in the UFC, that's for sure. You know, you drop your block for 1 minute, and you know you can lose. But yeah, there's a lot of talk that there's a lot of talk about things that might be happening. Some fights have been announced for UFC 300. There's also a possibility. There's been talk of Izzy versus Hamzat. Yeah, who knows, man? But it's going to be a great new year nonetheless, you know, even with the fights we have confirmed. And then, of course, there's the wild card of UFC 300. And, yeah, who knows? Yeah, look, I do apologise for my vagueness, guys. I would have liked to have given a more, thorough breakdown of UFC 296, which, but, we're here to recap the year, I suppose. So I could probably do that on the first pod of next year, indeed. Sorry about that door. I think someone's in here, but someone's. I don't know if they've left or not, but someone's in here. But anyway, yeah, we could probably do that recap on the first pod of next year. Do it in more detail when I'm actually looking things up to analyze the next card. But yeah, just have not been in the greatest of mindsets, to be honest, lately. And yeah, my dad's mate, who I've referenced in earlier podcasts as being with us when I started my journey watching the UFC. Conor and Khabib, McGregor McGregor, sorry. DC Stipe, I forget which one. It was the one that Brock did the entrance to. I watched all of that with, he passed away. And recently, just before Christmas, and I don't know, it kind of feels like the end of an era to me. I don't know, I just don't know how to feel about it. It feels kind of trippy. But yeah, anyway, guys, that was 2023. What a year it's been. Happy New Year to you all. I hope you all have a good one and enjoy it wherever you all are. It's definitely going to be a good one for us fight fans. Yeah, I just thought, of course, I'd do this to recap everything, what a year it's been. And I guess state, what we've got to look forward to. There's, of course, one more day this year, where I am anyway, depending, where you guys are, it's probably different, or around the world, maybe. It is the 31st here in Australia, though. One more day of 2023, and man, it only feels like, yesterday I was celebrating New Year's with my mates last year, and now here we are. This year went like it was nothing. A lot happened for me, and yeah, these last few weeks just have not been easy. So I do apologise if my content has slacked because of it. But anyway, guys, like I said, Happy New Year. We've got a lot to look forward to next year. And I'll be here for all of it, as always. But anyway, as always, till next time, or till next year, catches.